What if everything you thought you knew about angels was wrong? Hidden for centuries, the Book of Enoch unveils a shocking origin story. One where divine beings fall from grace, defy heaven's laws, and create chaos on earth. In this video we dive deep into the ancient forbidden text to expose the truth behind the fallen angels, the Watchers, their rebellion, and the secrets they passed on to mankind. Forgotten by mainstream scripture but preserved in secret circles, Enoch's account changes everything. Prepare for a journey through lost knowledge, ancient mysteries, and the true origins of the fallen. Let's begin. The birth of the Nephilim, hybrids of heaven and earth. The term Nephilim stirs up fascination and fear across theological, mythological, and even paranormal circles. Described in ancient texts as giants, men of renown, or fallen ones, the Nephilim are said to be the offspring of the union between the sons of God and the daughters of men. But who were these mysterious beings? Were they truly celestial human hybrids? The Book of Genesis briefly mentions them, but it is the apocryphal Book of Enoch that paints a much more detailed and unsettling portrait. This narrative delves into the origins, identity, and consequences of the Nephilim's existence, creatures born from the forbidden union of heaven and earth. 1. The Genesis of the Nephilim. The foundational reference to the Nephilim appears in Genesis 6 verses 1-4. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. This brief passage is enigmatic, leaving many questions unanswered. Who are the sons of God? Who were the daughters of men? And why does the resulting progeny, the Nephilim, seem to carry such power and influence? The ambiguity of the Genesis text led to centuries of interpretation. But ancient Jewish texts, especially 1 Enoch, provide a more vivid and disturbing elaboration. 2. The Watchers and their rebellion. According to the Book of Enoch, the sons of God are identified as Watchers, a group of angels tasked with watching over humanity. Rather than simply observing, these Watchers begin to lust after human women. Enoch 6:1-2 describes the origin of their sin. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them. A leader among the Watchers named Semjaza organizes a pact among 200 angels on Mount Hermon, binding themselves together to pursue their forbidden desire. This rebellion represents not just lust, but a cosmic betrayal, a divine order violated for the sake of carnal pleasure. 3. The forbidden union. The union between angels and women, unnatural and unholy, produces a new species, the Nephilim. These beings were not ordinary children. Described in Enoch 7:2-6, they were immense in size and possessed abilities that far surpassed mortal humans. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. The Nephilim, according to Enoch, were not only physically dominant but also morally corrupt and violently destructive. They began to consume everything, animals, plants, and eventually humans. Their appetites and wrath were insatiable. These hybrid creatures disrupted the balance of creation. They were the embodiment of chaos, not merely in size but in spirit. Born of rebellion, they spread corruption wherever they roamed. 4. Hybrids of heaven and earth. The Nephilim occupy a unique place in cosmology. They are neither fully divine nor fully human but hybrids. Their existence challenges the boundary between the spiritual and the physical. They are the unnatural result of two worlds that were meant to remain separate. In mythological terms, the Nephilim represent a common archetype, the demigod. Similar beings appear in Greek mythology like the Titans or Heracles, Mesopotamian epics like Gilgamesh, and even Hindu lore, the Asuras. These figures often possess superhuman strength, but their flawed origins lead them into moral ambiguity or ruin. In biblical tradition, however, the Nephilim were not heroes. They were abominations, divine errors that threatened the very fabric of the world. Their power was derived from heaven, but their nature was aligned with destruction. 5. The Flood, a divine reset. The proliferation of the Nephilim was one of the catalysts for divine judgment. In Genesis 6 verses 5 to 7, God observes the increasing wickedness of humanity. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Nephilim's violence and depravity had infected the earth. The world had strayed so far from divine intent that only a complete reset could restore order. The Great Flood was not merely punishment for human sin but a cleansing of the corrupted bloodlines, particularly the line tainted by the Nephilim. According to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers were punished, bound in the abyss until the day of judgment. The Nephilim, being flesh, were destroyed, yet their spirits lingered. Enoch 15:8-10 explains, "And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called." This chilling passage suggests that the spirits of the Nephilim became the disembodied demons that plague humanity, malevolent forces still seeking to corrupt, oppress, and deceive. 6. Echoes and other traditions. The myth of divine-human hybrids is not unique to biblical texts. Across ancient cultures, similar tales of gods mating with mortals and producing powerful, often dangerous, offspring appear. Greek mythology, the gods often fathered half-divine heroes like Hercules and Perseus. The Titans too were beings of immense size and strength who rebelled against cosmic order. Mesopotamian lore. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the titular character is a giant of immense strength, born of divine and mortal parents. His journey, like that of the Nephilim, ends in tragedy and divine limitation. Ugaritic texts. The Rephaim and Anakim, ancient warrior clans believed to be giant descendants, also resemble Nephilim and are mentioned in biblical texts as enemies of Israel. These parallels suggest a shared ancient fear, the intrusion of divine power into the human realm, resulting in beings who are too powerful, too uncontrollable, and too destructive to exist. 7. The legacy of the Nephilim. Though destroyed in the flood, references to the Nephilim continue throughout the Bible. In Numbers 13:33, the Israelite spies claim, "We saw the Nephilim there. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes and we looked the same to them." This passage, centuries after the flood, raises the question, did some Nephilim survive? Or had their descendants returned? Biblical giants like Og of Bashan and Goliath of Gath may be echoes of this lineage. Their abnormal size and strength hint at a genetic or spiritual heritage linked to the original Nephilim. Even today, many conspiracy theories, pseudoscientific claims, and fringe archaeology suggest that the Nephilim were real, pointing to massive skeletons, ancient megaliths, and forbidden knowledge as evidence. While such claims lack mainstream support, they reflect an enduring human fascination with forbidden origins and hybrid power. 8. Symbolism and interpretation. Theologically, the story of the Nephilim is more than just an account of ancient giants. It is a warning about boundaries between heaven and earth, divine and human, order and chaos. The Watchers violated divine law, and their offspring symbolized the consequences of that transgression. The Nephilim represent hubris, the desire to transcend one's station, and the disaster that follows when divine commandments are ignored. The story also reminds humanity of its vulnerability, not just to external threats but to spiritual corruption. The Nephilim, born of lust and rebellion, are metaphors for the consequences of unrestrained desire and spiritual compromise. The birth of the Nephilim marks a pivotal moment in ancient cosmology, a time when divine beings crossed forbidden boundaries, and their actions altered the course of human history. These hybrid giants, forged from heavenly power and earthly flesh, became the very embodiment of rebellion, destruction, and divine judgment. From Genesis to Enoch and beyond, the Nephilim remain a haunting symbol of what happens when the sacred order is violated. Whether viewed as literal beings, mythological archetypes, or spiritual metaphors, their story continues to captivate, a chilling reminder that some unions were never meant to be. Why was the Book of Enoch hidden or banned? The Book of Enoch is one of the most mysterious and controversial ancient texts associated with early Judaism and Christianity. Once revered by many early Jewish sects and Christian communities, it was eventually excluded from most canonical Bibles and largely forgotten for centuries. This raises a provocative question. Why was the Book of Enoch hidden or banned? The answer lies in a complex web of theological tensions, evolving doctrines, political considerations, and spiritual beliefs that shaped the development of Judaism and Christianity. This essay explores the historical, theological, and political reasons for the suppression of the Book of Enoch, using ancient sources and modern scholarship to unlock its forgotten importance. 1. What is the Book of Enoch? The Book of Enoch, also known as 1 Enoch, is an ancient Jewish text traditionally attributed to Enoch, the great-grandfather of Noah. Though not written by Enoch himself, the book was composed between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE by various authors. It survives in full only in the Guizi Ethiopic language and was preserved by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which includes it in its biblical canon. The book is divided into 5 major sections. The Book of the Watchers describes the descent of rebellious angels, the Watchers, who corrupt humanity. The Book of Parables presents visions of divine judgment and the figure of the Son of Man. The Astronomical Book offers a complex description of the universe and timekeeping. The Book of Dream Visions symbolically recounts Israelite history and prophecy. The Epistle of Enoch contains apocalyptic warnings and ethical exhortations. Each section contributes to a vivid portrayal of a cosmic struggle between good and evil, divine judgment, and heavenly secrets. These themes made Enoch widely popular in certain circles, but deeply controversial in others. 2. The book's early popularity. During the Second Temple period, 516 BC, 70 CE, the Book of Enoch was widely read among various Jewish groups. The discovery of multiple Enoch manuscripts among the Dead Sea Scrolls at Qumran confirms its significance for the Essenes, a sectarian community that valued apocalyptic and mystical literature. It influenced later Jewish mysticism and early Christian theology, especially concerning angels, the afterlife, and the coming of a messianic figure. In early Christianity, the Book of Enoch was quoted by the Epistle of Jude, verses 14 to 15, which directly cites a prophecy attributed to Enoch. Early church fathers such as Tertullian, Justin Martyr, and Irenaeus regarded it with high esteem. So why did this revered book fall from grace? 3. Theological controversies, angels, giants, and the Son of Man. One of the main reasons the Book of Enoch was banned or hidden is its radical theology, especially its teachings on fallen angels, Nephilim giants, and a divine messianic figure. The fallen angels and forbidden knowledge. In the Book of the Watchers, a group of angels descends to earth and mates with human women, producing giant offspring, the Nephilim. These angels also teach humanity forbidden knowledge such as sorcery, weaponry, and astrology. This myth challenged the growing rabbinic and Christian preference for monotheism with minimal intermediary beings. The idea that angels could rebel, fall, and sin was seen as theologically dangerous. It gave too much agency to celestial beings and blurred the lines between divine order and chaos. B. The Nephilim, uncomfortable mythology. The presence of giant hybrid beings, Nephilim, as a result of these unions was seen as mythologically scandalous. While Genesis 6 verses 1 to 4 makes a brief mention of this event, the Book of Enoch expands it into a cosmic rebellion narrative. As theological orthodoxy solidified, such mythic elaborations were viewed as unacceptable or embarrassing, especially as Christianity spread to Greco-Roman audiences who were skeptical of myths. C. The Son of Man concept. The Book of Parables introduces a messianic figure called the Son of Man, who pre-exists creation, sits on the throne of God, and enacts judgment. This was a radical concept of divine-human unity that prefigured Christian doctrines about Christ. Early Jewish communities that did not accept Jesus as the Messiah likely found this portrayal dangerous, especially as it became a Christian apologetic tool. On the flip side, Later Christian authorities found some elements of the Enochian Messiah incompatible with their own doctrinal developments about Christ's nature. 4. Suppression by Rabbinic Judaism. After the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE, Rabbinic Judaism began to consolidate its texts and traditions to ensure the survival of the Jewish identity in exile. Apocalyptic and mystical texts like Enoch were often excluded. They were associated with sectarian groups such as the Essenes, which the emerging rabbinic authorities wanted to distance themselves from. Their angelology and esoteric themes were too speculative and hard to control doctrinally. Enochian literature had been used by early Christians, further alienating it from Jewish canon formation. Instead, texts such as the Torah, prophets, and select writings were emphasized, those with moral clarity, national focus, and less cosmic speculation. 5. Rejection by the Christian Church. Despite early Christian interest, the Book of Enoch was ultimately excluded from the canonical New Testament. By the 4th century CE, church leaders like Athanasius and Jerome were determining the Christian Bible. Their reasons for rejecting Enoch include non-Hebrew origin. The early church prioritized texts written in Hebrew or known to be part of the Jewish canon. Since the Book of Enoch did not survive in Hebrew and was not part of the Masoretic text, it was considered suspect. B. Doctrinal control. By the time Christian orthodoxy was being codified at councils like Nicaea, 325 CE, and Carthage, 397 CE, Enoch's radical theology had become a problem. Its complex cosmology, multiple heavens, and independent messianic figure challenged the centralized authority of church teaching. C. Association with heresies. Some early heretical groups, like the Gnostics, used Enochian themes to promote their teachings. Gnosticism often involved secret knowledge, fallen divine beings, and hidden wisdom, concepts compatible with Enoch. This association made the text even more suspicious to Orthodox Christian authorities. The role of power in politics. Like all canon decisions, the exclusion of the Book of Enoch was not purely theological, it was also political. Control over religious texts meant control over doctrine, community identity, and institutional power. The Church needed a uniform canon to defend itself against heresy and define Christian identity. The book's complex visions and multiple authorship made it hard to interpret and control. Promoting simpler, more accessible Gospels and epistles was politically effective for reaching broader populations. Thus, Enoch was labeled apocryphal, and over time, it faded from most Western traditions. 7. Survival in Ethiopia. The remarkable exception to the book's disappearance is the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which preserved it as sacred scripture. Why did it survive there? Ethiopia had early and strong Christian roots, possibly dating to the 1st century CE. Its geographic and cultural isolation allowed it to maintain independent canonical traditions. Enoch's themes of judgment, angels, and a messianic figure fit well with Ethiopian Christianity's apocalyptic emphasis. To this day, the Ethiopian Church considers the Book of Enoch canonical, offering a living witness to its ancient importance. 8. Rediscovery and modern fascination. For centuries, the Book of Enoch was lost to the Western world. It was rediscovered in the 18th century when Scottish explorer James Bruce brought several Gwizi manuscripts from Ethiopia. Since then, interest in the book has grown dramatically. Scholars study it for insight into Second Temple Judaism and the roots of Christianity. Mystics and esoteric traditions have adopted it for its cosmic and angelic revelations. Many Christians today are reconsidering its relevance, especially in light of its quote in the New Testament. A book too dangerous to canonize? So, why was the Book of Enoch hidden or banned? The answer is multifaceted. Theologically, it challenged emerging norms about angels, divine order, and messianic identity. Politically, it complicated the efforts of both Jewish and Christian leaders to define orthodoxy. Mythically, it carried stories that were too radical and speculative for mainstream acceptance. In a sense, the Book of Enoch was too powerful, too mysterious, and too provocative to be canonized. But its very exclusion hints at its ancient influence and lingering relevance. Far from being a forgotten relic, The Book of Enoch remains a window into early spiritual imagination, cosmic vision, and theological struggle, a text that still speaks from the shadows with truths both wondrous and unsettling. Thanks for watching. If the secrets of the Book of Enoch opened your eyes to the hidden truth behind the fallen angels, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with fellow seekers of ancient knowledge. The mysteries we uncovered today are just the beginning. There's so much more buried beneath the surface of forgotten texts and forbidden history. Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious, stay questioning, and remember, the truth is often hidden in the texts we were never meant to read. See you soon.